I'll be honest, when I know there was a lot of rhetoric about the use of Māori and how much Māori's out in the public and things like that, and this is just my personal opinion.
Welcome to Fika's Focus. Voices leading change.
Right, kia ora everyone. Today I am speaking to you about being Māori. It's an interesting scenario, especially in a political climate that has been rocky, to say the least. But what I thought I'd discuss with you today is about the role of Māori and being Māori in an education system. So if we go backwards a wee bit, my pepeha, I'll go through that. So ko hautere te maunga, ko ora ka te awa, ko tainui te waka, ko Ngāti Raukawa te iwi, ko Ngāti Āhuru te apu, ko Ngātira te marae, ko te tikanga a tāwheo, te whare tupuna, ko Haki Thompson, rawa ko Violet Thompson, oku tipuna, ko Ray toku ingoa, no tokoroa a hau. Why that's important? It's important because those parts of us as Māoridom and for everyone actually is a foundation is knowing where we are from. I want to discuss why that's important in an education realm. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that it gives us grounding to know who we are and where we are from. Now, there's some real key points to the role of Māoridom in the education system. Growing up Māori, it was not, if you can't tell by all the grey in my beard, I'm an 80s kid. I grew up in a position where the auspicious position of being in a generation or being one down from a generation that the language was beaten out of them. My mum and my kōrero and them, they did not want us to learn Māori. They would utter things like, it'll be of no use. It will not get you anywhere in life. I remember things being said like, you need to learn Chinese or Japanese or something because being Māori and knowing Māori is not going to be of any benefit to you in your life. My sister had the only Māori middle name. We all have Pākehā names, but my sister had the middle name Aroha, and she was so embarrassed about that middle name Aroha, which is such a beautiful name actually, that she just refused to tell people. It didn't occur to us that at that time that being Māori was extremely unique to us. It set us in as part of a world citizen of an indigenous culture, and it actually really should have been a strength that allowed us to feel more unique. In those times, learning Māori in a mainstream school was not done. Teachers were not required to teach te reo Māori in those phases, or unless if you were lucky enough to have a Māori teacher in that space, then they helped learn some of those things and helped us build a relationship in with the language. However, because our psyche was that, well, Māori is not of any use, and to the point that we were embarrassed about it, being Māori, it just never really featured in my educational journey. It wasn't until I got to intermediate and then high school that I really started to explore those pieces of it in an educational setting. And then I started to build an affinity with the other aspects of Māoridom that really, really matter in an educational setting. I'm going to fast forward. I go to university in 2001 to Teachers College, and I really realised that Māoridom is starting to really make a play forward in the educational setting. Although we were only given one level 500 paper or something like that, something silly like that, which was teaching and learning Māori, there was still some hints of Māoridom in the university, of Māori professors speaking, like Timothy Harris was one, I think he's professor actually, Professor Russell Bishop, who has written many, many books in this space, and I started seeing these academic Māori achievers, and it started to really highlight to me their role in that setting. I move forward again and I go into my career and I start to see the real emergence of quite a few more Māori teachers and their deeper understanding as they were coming out of university from Rūmaki and bilingual units and going into mainstream schools and helping facilitate what is known now as a revitalisation of Māori. Some of the key things I learnt in that space, especially from Professor Russell Bishop, one of the key things he spoke to was that if it's good for Māori, it will be good for every child. So our approaches to Māori and working with Māori children, what was encouraged was around the holistic approach of working with a Māori child. Now, that actually is incredibly important for all children, but it was spoken to the fact that we have to holistically look at a child and see how we can grow them in that space. I remember seeing whare tapa whā, I don't know if it was 4 at that point, I'm pretty sure it wasn't, that show my age, but the whare tapa whā was an important model that helped facilitate creating an educational environment that really caters for those pieces of a child, being hinengaro, wairua, tinana, and the fourth one is. But what it was doing was introducing Māori principles to the educational system that really allowed us to start to facilitate all those sorts of things. Then there was way more growth in those space of accessing people who could come in and help us deliver strong real lessons, language, numbers, songs, whakapapa, all those things started to really become immersed in the educational setting, and it really started to help us create more of a platform for children to understand who they are and where they are from. Now, it didn't necessarily relate typically just exclusively to Māoridom, but we were using a Māori principle to help other children know and understand where they are from. For example, my time in just working while I was at Teachers College, I was working at Insole Avenue School in Hamilton, and there's a lot of children of refugee status at that school. Those principles of understanding and valuing who they are and where they were from was actually a really important aspect to work with those children who were refugeed over to a country, coming in from a war-torn country. It gave us an ability to build connection back into where they were from. I think when we look back, and we're in 2024, and I'll be honest, when I know there was a lot of rhetoric about the use of Māori and how much Māori's out in the public and things like that, and this is just my personal opinion. I knew we weren't going away. I knew the language wasn't going to go away. In fact, they've probably spiked us into taking more action, into making sure that Māori is a real critical element to the educational settings. I know that the lessons that come from the past where we had people either and keep in mind this was my own whānau as well. We're not even talking about other people. We're just talking about the unfortunate circumstance of us being told that the language is of no use and that knowing and understanding that stuff is of no use. We're now not even having that, to the point my mum is learning te reo Māori. My koro's passed away, but he was fluent in Māori. But we're starting to see every single educational experience from early childhood right through to tertiary spaces being immersed in that kaupapa Māori, being involved in pōheri, being involved in whai kōrero, being involved in that whakatau, that mihi whakatau. All those pieces are now really ingrained, so I had no concern about it disappearing. We wouldn't let it disappear either. I think what we're starting to see, we're really proud of it, is within an educational setting, in our educational setting, kids are getting access to all sorts of things, from karakia, tikanga practice, making sure that they're welcoming guests into the centre, in that mihi whakatau. All those sorts of things are really embedded in our spaces, and we're really, really proud of that. The other lessons that we really are proud of is that for children, and Pāpāmoa's got quite a lot of diversity, for those children that have come in from different countries, and there are lots of different nationalities, we just get to build that connection back for them, knowing where they're from, knowing who they are, knowing what they're about. I think the final thing that I really wanted to talk to is the parallels that Māoridom and the lessons of Māoridom offers us. I was lucky enough to go and look at some beautiful centres over in Australia end of last year. And the one thing that I know that we are doing so much better is our connection to Māori, to the Indigenous people. Maybe it was just where we went. I don't know. But when I did ask, and anyone who knows me knows that I will go and ask those awkward questions. When I did ask about the relationship of the 4 centres we went to visit, I could, one confidently said they had some level of relationship with the locals, with the Indigenous culture, obviously the Indigenous Australians. And that, to me, I was not patted myself on the back, but I figuratively patted New Zealand education system on the back, because we are literally decades ahead of their system in that space from what I saw there. And that is something that I'm really, really proud of. I'm proud to be part of that space. I'm proud to be a Māori in this space of early childhood, leading the way in the mainstream space. And I know that within Future Focus and, of course, all our other early learning institutes, they will continue to fly that flag of Māoridom. Up the was.